Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another PM for NGOs webinar. We are running this webinar in partnership with DisasterReady and Pyramid Learning. My name is Edson. I am the Executive Director of PM for NGOs, and I have the pleasure to have here Tina Baldwin from DisasterReady and John Cropper from Pyramid Learning. So I would like to ask Tina to introduce herself, and then I'll ask John to do the same.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It truly is a pleasure to be with all of you today. My name is Tina Bolding, and I work for the Cornerstone On Demand Foundation. And Edson, if I could have you put up that first slide as I do a quick introduction. I oversee a program called DisasterReady.org. And DisasterReady.org is the largest free online learning portal dedicated to build skills and knowledge for humanitarian and development workers anywhere in the world. We have about 1,500 online learning resources that are mostly courses, self-paced courses, videos, assessment-based certificate programs, and certifications that you can log into and take. With 560,000 active learners from 195 countries, we provide our portal in English, French, Spanish, and Arabic. And we work with over 100 partners in the humanitarian and development sector, as well as for-profit sector, to be able to provide that content globally. So that's a little bit about me and who I work for in DisasterReady, and I'll pass it to John.
Hello, everybody. So my name is John Cropper, and I run an organization called Pyramid Learning, which is a boutique, if you like, a consultancy, training, learning and development company. And we will work and talk with anybody about program management, project management, monitoring and evaluation, because what we really care about is finding ways to get learning to the people who need it most, to the people in the field. And my own background is I've been working in NGO program and project management for well over 20 years. With emergency response work, development work, advocacy projects, and projects at pretty much every level. And since 2011, I've been working on different aspects of capacity building, largely around program and project management. And so I'm delighted to be here with Edson and with Tina. And it's fantastic that we're here talking about the Project Management Essentials course, because I was really happy to collaborate with Tina in putting this together. So I think it's wonderful that we're here, and I'm really grateful that all of you watching this webinar are interested in learning more about project management, which I think is fantastic. Back to you, Edson.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Tina, for your introduction. I would like to remind everyone that we will have a drawing for a free exam on this webinar. And in order for you to win this exam, you have to subscribe to the YouTube channel of PM for NGOs and also like this video so we know that you watched. And you have 24 hours to like it, add your comment and subscribe, and we're going to be running the drawing tomorrow. But today we're going to be talking about a really, really interesting topic, which is certifications, specifically in project management and in this area, in the development and humanitarian sectors. And what certificate, why do we bother getting a certification? Why should we get the certification? But before we start talking about certification specifically, I would like to first talk why project management is so important, or is it important for our sector? How does it benefit individuals? How does it benefit organizations and crisis-affected populations? So, John, could you just talk a little bit about that? Why project management is so important? How could it benefit us as professionals in this sector?
Well, I think it's a really good question, Edson. And, it's wonderful. I mean, I'm just looking at some of the comments and that we have people coming in from so many different countries. And I think that is amazing. Great that people want to learn more, as I said. So looking at your question, Edson, I would almost put it the other way round. It's for me, yes, there is a very clear benefit to professionals working in the sector, and we'll come to that. But for me, it's about the benefits that it brings to the communities, to the projects, to the people we work with. Because in the end, this is all about them. This is all about how do we work together? How do we collaborate to make sure that the work we do on the ground is of better quality? Maybe it's faster, maybe it's more cost effective or whatever. But, we want to deliver more to the people who really need it. That's what this is all about. And for me, I think it's really important that we keep that focus front and center. And then with all of us, we're all professionals working in this sector. Well, if we know more about something that is absolutely central to delivery, we're going to do it better. And what I mean about being central to delivery is that many organizations have got strategies, dreams, hopes. Of course they do, absolutely. But if you can't turn those into concrete results on the ground, then they're just nice words on paper. Project management is all about delivery. It's about finding ways to, as I said, to collaborate, maybe across different organizations, certainly different functions within an organizations, to deliver. And then coming on to individuals, I mean, people say, well, okay, why does it matter that I learn more about this? Well, I sort of think that if you go to a doctor, you would probably quite like to know that the doctor knows something about medicine. And it's the same with this. It's the same with any profession. What is, I think, a little bit different is that in project management, you could almost describe as a hidden profession. And what I really hope is that things such as the Essentials course can help to bring the profession into the light. So it's no longer a hidden profession, but that we see it just as we would any other profession working in development. Because for me, it is the project managers who are the people, who really make things happen on the ground for communities around the world. Back to you, Edson.
Actually, I just have one comment, if you don't mind me jumping in, Edson.
Absolutely.
Okay. I get excited about this topic, and I know the three of us have talked about this before, but adding to what John said, it's really almost a moral imperative for the humanitarian and development sector. If we do not execute or implement projects correctly, then we're hurting and causing more grief and hurt to the people that were there to support and walk alongside. So it's really important, and it's not you're not just born with great project management skills. So you really have to learn them. There really are techniques, tools, processes, things that you have to consider, and ways that everybody really has to work together, not just the project manager, but others that have support roles need to understand how it all works together. So I just wanted to express that right up front.
Well, thank you, Tina, and I couldn't agree more. Yes, you need to create a common language among not only the project managers, but also the supporting the project team, the supporting departments. But Tina, can you tell us a little bit about the pathway to gain that knowledge? How to go through, for example, the project management essentials that we have on DisasterReady?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. So if you don't mind, Edson, while I talk, you're ahead of me. Thank you. So what we did is PM for NGOs, Pyramid Learning, and DisasterReady about a year ago recognized that there was a great opportunity, that there was a gap. And so a great opportunity to fill that gap with some online learning that would allow any aid development worker, partner agency to be able to log in online and for free learn basic project management skills. So we called it the Project Management Essentials Certificate. This is an assessment-based certificate, and the reason why I'm emphasizing that is because it's 5 courses. It takes about 5 hours. It goes through each key phase of project management, from planning to closing the project. And once you've completed the 5 courses, then you take a 45-question test, and if you pass with 75% or greater, then you're issued a badge and a completion certificate. And so we found that this was a key need so that individuals who, let's say you're just starting out and maybe you've been working in your organization for quite some time, but as John alluded to a little earlier, you may have a natural disaster that hits, and then all of a sudden, it's all hands on deck. Whatever you were doing, you're now not doing, and then you're focused on being able to provide aid as quickly as possible. And someone's got to plan and manage that project to get that done. So part of this was meeting a need to say you can access this training immediately to be able to take it. You can use it as refresher training for career progression. And then what I equally get excited about is a learning pathway. So you don't want to just stop at building basic skills. As you move on in your career or doing more and more humanitarian and development work, then you want to advance those skills. And this was created so that it was the first step. You take this as a first step, then your next step is to advance through Project D Pro certification, which Edson will talk a little bit more about. But that enables you to really demonstrate your competency. That's a full-blown certification where you become an international, project manager, certified project manager. So to tell you a little bit more about the course itself, it's a little bit more unique. It was designed with a higher level of interaction. So what you see on the slides here, John and I, these are our 2 friends, good friends, Adesh and Esther. Esther is an experienced project manager, and Adesh is a new project manager. So the course is scenario-based. As you go through it, Adesh is learning from Esther the tools, the principles, the obstacles that you face typically whenever implementing a project in the humanitarian or development context, either one. And so as they do that, then Adesh asks questions, and she's able to coach him on that. The other thing that learners tell us they really like about this training is that it allows them an opportunity to think about, well, how would you make a decision in this particular situation? And then they see the outcome of that. Then they can go back and they can select a different way, a different choice, and then they can see the outcome of that decision. And then that just helps them learn. If you handle a stakeholder or forget to handle a stakeholder in this way, then these are real life examples of what can happen and what that can lead to. I'm really pleased to say there are downloadable tools and templates. You use them throughout the scenario in the courses, but really then you can download them and start to use them immediately for the work that you're doing. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that all the content is based on the Project D Pro guide. And why that is a benefit is because it allows, as the sector, it allows us to have a common terminology, common framework, common processes, common tools, so that we tend to work in different organizations. We tend to work together in a humanitarian response and development with one another. And sometimes we're just not speaking the same language. We may mean the same thing, but it takes us longer to figure out if we're not communicating it effectively and in the same way. So I get excited that this training is aligned with Project DPRO and enables that professionalization in the sector. And then just to share, it was a year ago that we launched the English version of Project Management Essentials. And since that time, in that year, we've had almost 7,000 people complete all 5 courses and pass their test, so they achieve their certificate. And there's about almost 44,000 people right now currently in process of the English version. Just 8 weeks ago, we launched this entire program in French and Spanish. And so in that 8-week period, you can see from the slide, we already have about almost 6,000 people in Spanish and French in total that are in the process of taking it, and about 300 people almost that have earned their certificate. So I say that because obviously there's demand, there is value. And I think that's what we want to talk a little bit more today about is, what is that value? Why should you take the time to do this and actually get your certificate and then move on to advance your skills into certification? So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Tina. Those are amazing results. And I couldn't agree more that you again mentioned that we should create a common language. And that goes in the direction of what are the deep pros and the project deep pro and what PM for NGOs offer as well. So, and we have a question actually that connects what you were saying and what I am going to say. We have a question from Adobli and Sheila. I completed the project manager essential certificate. So what is next for me? So you can now go and take the certification exam, which is a little bit more comprehensive. The essentials is the very first step in the entry level. It has a very big value for your learning, but then you can read the guide, you can go through the entire content and take the certification exam to become a Project DPRO certified professional. And PM4NGOs not only have the Project Pro, but also the MEO DPRO, the Program DPRO, and the Finance DPRO. All those certifications have been designed to be accessible for the community-based organization. That goes back to what John and Tina said. We want the community-based organizations, the local professionals, to have access to take a certification that is recognized by the sector. This is a little bit of the overview of the DPRO, and I invite you to visit the PM4NGOs website to take a look at the other DPROs. But also, you also see that at DisasterReady also have other skills and other courses that would be supplemental to the project management essential. So answering the question, I finished the essentials, what else should I do? Depending on what you're doing on your work, you'll be looking for, to get the certification on PM4NGOs, and also to get other courses from Pyramid and DisasterReady to supplement what you just learned. If you work with risk management, if you work with logistics, if you work in the financial area, you can look for different courses on Pyramid and DisasterReady. But we're talking about the knowledge and the pathway to gain that knowledge. I would like to go a little bit more specific in the certification. So why should we bother about getting a certificate? Why is that important? What kind of evidence that brings to individual, to organization? Personally, I think that the word is evidence. So a person that does get a certificate has an evidence that went through a course and through a content, and that can be used for several different reasons. And I would hand it over to John to talk a little bit more about that. So why should I have a certificate, not just taking the course and getting the content or reading the guide?
Yeah, thank you, Edson. I think it's a fair question as well, because We've all met very good project managers who didn't have a certification, and we've probably also met quite bad ones who did. And I think it's important to recognize that there's no magic here. But the other way of looking at it, going back to my point about a doctor, if you're sick and you go to a doctor, yeah, you probably want them to be experienced. You want them to have, to know about medicine, but you probably also want to know that they went through medical school and that they're a qualified doctor. And I think it's the same with this. And when you look at, when all of you, and I'm just seeing the amazing comments here in the chat, and it's great that so many people have done the essential certificate, and some of the best value is what people are saying, is that it's helping them with their work, because that's what this is all about. And so I think there are lots of different ways of looking at value. I think there is evidence, just as you said, Edson. Yeah, actually, yes, I have shown my knowledge to this level. Absolutely. I think when you start looking then across an organization and across organizations, if multiple people have done this, then again, it facilitates a shared conversation. A lot of good project management is getting the right people to have the right conversation at the right time and in the right way. And if you've got a common language, it makes life easier. And if people have got a certification, well, okay, then you've got some common ground. I think another value is that it sets a platform. I mean, Edson, you mentioned going on to doing the Project D Pro certification. Absolutely. The essentials. This is the first. It's like a ladder. This is the first rung. Okay, then you go up to Project D Pro, and then if you're managing programs, you could look at Program D Pro, or you could look at the Project D Pro practitioner level, which again, it's more advanced. So I think there's a value of the certification in almost getting you onto the platform. And then I also think there's a broader value around credibility. And I think that is not just about individuals. I think it's about organizations as well. That if you have an organization where a number of people can, we know what we're talking about and we can prove it because we've been through a certification process, I think that gives credibility to an organization. And not just with donors or with international organizations, but with communities. I think it shows a commitment that as an individual and an organization, that you're serious about this, that you recognize that managing projects effectively and efficiently is critical to humanitarian work and to development work. You're serious about this. You've invested your time and your effort, maybe even your resources, and as a result, you're certified, your colleagues are certified, and as a result, you're better able to manage your project. So I'll stop there for the moment, Edson, because I could talk about this forever. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I couldn't say that. I mean, but we talk about the value about credibility, about the credibility for the individuals, for the organization, but is the sector really valuing and embracing those certifications? And I can share a little bit, PM. We have over 30,000 people certified in Project Pro. And we have to still add new Pro financial deployment program Pro. So that shows that there is a big community with this common language already using the method. This is just the ones who got certified. We have to remember that many people just get the methodology and go to the field and start using it which is the vision of our PM for Indians. Many people take the project manager essentials, and that's enough knowledge for the work that specific person is doing. And one thing that it's when we look at the corporate sector, it's very common that we see many companies saying, "No, to apply for this job, you have to be certified." In our sector, we don't see that much. We don't see much the organization say you have to be certified to to apply for a specific job. Or a donor say your organization has to have a team certified to apply for this bid or for this call. But that's because we are inclusive. And I see we have hundreds of organizations applying and adopting Project Pro. What they do is they, of course, prefer to hire someone that is already certified, or to hire someone that already has that knowledge. But there is no, like, maybe this is not very clear in our sector because there is not mandatory, which I think it's great, because many of those organizations, once you get to that position, to that project, to that work, they say, okay, so now you have some time to take that certification, to take that course, and to improve your skills and to speak the same language. And I know that DisasterReady has run a survey. I would like to hand it over to Tina to talk a little bit about the survey that DisasterReady has done, and that talks about exactly what is this, is really the sector embracing and valuing that certification?
Yeah, it's a key question for sure. And we survey our learners each year, and for, I would say, the last 5 or 6 years, our learners have come back and said, we really want to have more assessment-based certificates and certifications because they want to demonstrate their skills and knowledge. They want to be able to demonstrate that they're competent in, and you can pick the topic, project management, procurement and logistics, monitoring, evaluation and learning, all those sorts of things. And so that's why in the last 5 years, DisasterReady has worked with partners like PM for NGOs, Pyramid Learning, Mercy Corps, and others to be able to create assessment-based certificate programs and even certifications. You'll see 10 of those. We have 10 of them out on DisasterReady.org. Again, all of those are free. But just coming back to why a certification, and something that John said about credibility. You know, at the end of the day, your organization may not be able to afford to send everybody to get fully certified on Project DPro, but you can look for those opportunities to, and this is what John said, even if you use your own resources to get certified, I would have to say that there's a greater likelihood that your performance will improve because you're using best practices to manage those projects. In turn, that means that the organization you're working for will do better at accomplishing their mission. And that in turn does better for the affected communities, right, that are using your services. So I'm a very optimistic person. And so in much of my career, I've had to take that initiative to go out and build the skills on my own so that then I can demonstrate, look what can be done when you're applying stakeholder management techniques or using an issues log. What about a risk log? I've worked in this sector for, goodness, I guess since 2007 now. And I really haven't seen too many of the organizations I've been with use many of these best practices. They're not hard. It's just learning them, understanding how to use them, and then applying them. But once people do, the result speaks for itself. And that comes back to building credibility personally and organizationally.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you so much. I would like to make some provoke a little bit about the learning process, but just to remind the viewers, if you have any questions, you already received some questions we're going to be answering at the end of this discussion. If you have any questions, please go ahead and post it on the comments on the YouTube, and we're going to be answering that in a few minutes. But just to wrap up, we talked about the learning, we talked about the certification, we talked about the use, we talked about the value. But once I got the project management essentials, even if I go ahead and get my certificate on project, or should I stop? Is it important that we have a mindset in our sector to a continual professional development? And how should I do that? I start talking about, like, if you finish the essentials, what should I do now? But John, Tina, what do you think? Should the professional really continue learning, how that would be possible?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, I think that it is really important to continue learning. I mean, project management as a broad sector, not just in NGOs and in development, but looking at project management in its entirety, has something like 60 or 70 years of research. There is a huge amount of knowledge out there. And I mean, going back to the idea of value, something that people have told me is that once they have been through a formal course of study on project management, and it's great to see that so many people have either, just looking at the comments, have either been through the Essentials course already, which is fantastic. I see a couple of people have already done Project Pro. I was delighted to see the project management of Flex and Save the Children as I helped put that together. So that's great to see as well. And it's like, but one of the real values of all of this is that you learn the vocabulary of the profession of project management. And that means you can continue to learn by yourself. So you might have a tool like a work breakdown structure, and you go, what's that? Okay, but once you've learned what it is, you can continue learning about it, whether that's on YouTube, or you can find articles. There's a huge amount out there. So I think that continuing learning is really important. And apart from anything else, there are new developments. You know, so you look at something like agile project management, which is relatively new. Well, if you studied project management 20 years ago and you had never done anything else, you would have missed that completely, because things change, things evolve. And just as with every profession, I think it's really important that we all continue to learn as individuals. But I also think it's really important that organizations say, well, okay, great. How do we collectively manage our projects and programs better? How do we deliver more value for the communities we work with the resources that we have? And, you know, and that takes us, you know, going through project management, program management, and even portfolio management, which is sort of bringing it all together. Back to you, Edson.
Thank you, John. Tina, can you talk a little bit more the opportunities that DisasterReady has for the ones who want to continue developing their skills and their knowledge?
Sure. So just to piggyback on what John was saying, there's also other skills like effective listening and decision making and negotiation, and there's lots of skills that make an effective project manager that is difficult. I mean, you've got it's a process of continual learning, I guess, is what, right? You learn, you apply, then you learn more, you apply. And so the benefit or the opportunity is on DisasterReady.org. There are over 1,500 online learning resources that you can go to build those types of skills. You can take a short class on effective listening, effective communication. How do you resolve conflict on a team? Because we all know that you know, one of the skills of a project manager is helping to integrate and coordinate across teams, not just across teams in your own organization, but stakeholders, external stakeholders, community members, you know, those sorts of things. So yes, I would encourage you to take advantage of that training on DisasterReady. There's training on management and leadership and technical skills, and so it's free. So it really removes the barrier of cost. It is in much of it is in Arabic, French, Spanish, and English. So there are some options there, and yeah. So that's what I would have to say.
And no, I think they're fantastic points, Tina. And I also feel that if you have this shared vocabulary, it also makes it easier for everybody to learn from one another. I mean, some of the best learning is you talk to a colleague who's managed a similar sort of problem, and how did they do it? What problems did they have? How did they solve them? And once you've got this common language, those conversations are just much easier to do. And and there's, I can see there's a question there around an association or a forum for where members can network, share opportunities, and grow. So, Edson, I think that's a wonderful opportunity to talk about PMD Pro Plus.
Exactly, John. When you just had a question that asks about that, so does PM for NGOs have an intent to have an association or forum where we members can network, share opportunities, and grow and learn? So yes, we do. We have the DPRO Plus platform, which is a platform absolutely free for everyone who is Project Pro certified. There are over 1,200 professionals in the platform. There are free mini courses for specific topics that are there. And there is also where the practitioner certification is available. You will find information how to become a practitioner as well, which is a different process. But thinking about learning from each other, the DPRO Plus allows to connect with other professionals, to ask for mentoring, to share, to demand for specific video or content that you would like to find, and to share also opinion about the courses that you took. So you can say, oh, I took that course with pyramid learning and I love it because it's focused on finance pro, you should take as well. Or I've seen this skills course at DisasterReady, and I would like to share with you guys that I love that and it helped me on doing this or that. So yes, there is a forum, the DPRO Plus, for the ones who are already certified. We already have also other questions here, some of them really interesting. So one of them is asking, well, where do I find information about certifications at PM for NGOs? And you will see that on PM for NGOs website. I want to ask our team to put the link on the comments. And there's a question also, please, do you have any NGO that we can refer anyone who is certified to do with them? And I remember that John just mentioned the Save the Children Flags course, that they use the Project Pro as part of their techniques and processes. And finally, there's one question here that I really like to also hear from John and from Tina. How is that different or comparable to PMP? And I would say that this is a personal opinion. I don't think there is a better or worse methodology or best practice in the world for project management. There is the best practice that is more appropriate for your project, for your need. So, for example, if you run in a project that is IT to develop software, maybe using the PMBOK or other best practices might be more appropriate for that. If you run in a project that is focused on community development, social change, Project Pro might be better appropriate. One interesting case, I was talking to a person from Habitat for Humanity in an informal conversation, and they build houses. So Project Pro might be the methodology for assessing the community needs and design how the change will affect that community. But at the moment that the houses are building, the building houses, maybe a technique that comes from a different best practice or methodology might be more appropriated. So I would like to hear from you, John, and you, Tina, what you think about that comparison or about different methodologies that we see in available for professionals.
Yeah, my own view is very similar. Building on what you said, I mean, the Essentials course and Project Pro, they're contextualized. They're focused on humanitarian response, preparedness, development, which is what we do. And it just makes life a little bit easier. So it's taking a similar set of tools, techniques, processes, and saying, well, okay, how can we make these work in our context? Not another one, our one. And I mean, still, you're going to have to, again, in your own organizations, you're going to have to contextualize to get them to work best for your own context because they're different. Of course they are. But why make life more difficult? And when you look at something like PMP, the Project Management Professional, or Prince 2, or the International Project Management Association certifications, which are all really good. They're great. You know, there's nothing wrong with them. As you said, it's not better or worse, but they are generic. They are not focused on our sector. So what we try to do, I mean, I was on the group that wrote the original Project DPRO guide, and we just simply tried to marry the tools and the techniques, the processes of our sector with the tools, process, and techniques of the profession of project management, just to make life a little bit easier. There is another difference as well, and that is that if you want to do PMP or Prince2, it gets very expensive very quickly. And what I have seen, and I have seen this in organizations, so when it costs a lot of money, then the training is often restricted to 1 or 2 senior managers. Okay, that's nice for the senior managers, but it doesn't help the project teams on the ground. It doesn't help the implementing partners. And what we need to do, what we wanted to do when we wrote the Project DPRO guide, was that we wanted to remove these barriers. We wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to access material and learning which was appropriate for their needs and would help them. You know, basically, it's trying to help good people doing good work do it even better. So those are my thoughts there on the similarities and differences.
Thank you, John. Tina, would you like to complement with your thoughts about the difference? And I remember John just finished saying about the affordability or the accessibility for DPRO and for the project management essentials. And then you mentioned, Tina, that the courses at DisasterReady are offered for free. And so that's an opportunity for professionals that sometimes are in countries with not many resources, and they can, of course, develop their skills through DisasterReady as well.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. The two of you shared my thoughts, and so for the sake of time, I'm just going to say I agree.
All right, I would like to close this webinar with one quote that I see here from let me see, Barack Philly. I learned this course and I got my certificates. For sure, the materials are presented are in an interesting way and attracts and keep learning. So yes, a pyramid learning, DisasterReady, and PM for NGOs are partners in this project management essentials. And we are also partners in all other areas that we develop the guides, the certification. So DisasterReady and pyramid learning have contributed also for PM for NGOs development, for PM for NGOs growth. I think there is another question just about the cost that I would like to close. There's 3 different costs for the exam, and it starts with $25 for the one who are in community-based organizations in developing countries. If you are working for an international NGO, the cost would be a little bit higher, but that's not to have a higher cost for international NGOs. It's the opposite thinking. Is to have a price that is accessible for the ones that are in community-based organizations and community-based professionals. In our website, you will find the description of what is the difference between those pricing models, but the content of the exam is the same. So there is no difference on the level of the exam in terms of content, in terms of credibility, in terms of what it represents in terms of evidence. So I would like to thank John and Tina. I would like to see if you would like to say a few final words. Let me start with John.
No, well, thank you so much for the opportunity, Edson, and just thank you, everybody, all of you who are watching this, whether you're watching it live or whether you watch it later, it doesn't really matter. It's fantastic that you're interested, and please try it, give it a go. And those of you who've already done it, share, be ambassadors for good project management in our sector, and that way we all win together. Back to you, Edson.
Thank you, John. Tina.
Yeah, what I would say is similar. You can do this. I know that we're all really, really busy, and we want to keep progressing and growing, but that takes time, and it takes an investment in time, and sometimes it takes an investment in cost. So I just wanted to reiterate here at the end to make sure everything's clear. the first step, Project Management Essential Certificate on DisasterReady, to build the basic skills. From there, and that's all free. From there, go to PM for NGOs and check out Project D Pro. And that's what Edson was just explaining. There's a couple of levels to that, and there is a price associated with the exam. Now, the great news is, and Edson will summarize this, but we're giving away 10 free exams for participating in this webinar. So he'll explain how that is going to be done. But yeah, this is a wonderful learning opportunity, not just as an individual, but for the organizations and for those that we walk alongside in really difficult times. So thank you very, very much, and look forward to seeing you all on DisasterReady and hearing about your achievement in passing your D-Pro certification.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, John. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you both for taking the time to share with us your thoughts, your knowledge, your experience about this topic. Thank you, John. Thank you, Tina. I hope I will have you guys back in another webinar in partnership with Pyramid and DisasterReady. PM for NGOs will give out 10 Project Pro exams. So if you want to be part of the drawing, please just remember to subscribe to the PM for NGOs channel and like the video or the recording of this webinar. We will be running the drawing tomorrow. And if you are already certified, participate in the drawing as well. You can either take the MILD Pro or the certification, or you can give your certification to a colleague, be the champion that John just said, and share the methodologies. So thank you all for attending this webinar. Thank you all for watching the recording of this webinar. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, John. I hope to see you guys back again here with us. I hope to see you that are watching this video in our next webinar at PM for NGOs. So thank you so much. Have a great day, a great evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care.